When you attack America's institutions day in and day out with critical race theory, when you threaten the Supreme Court of the United States, as Chuck Schumer threatened 2 justices several years ago for which he never paid a penalty, when you keep talking about packing the Supreme Court in order to get the results that you want, when you keep denigrating these institutions, these American institutions, from the founding to our monuments, to our history, to these different branches of government, when you keep trespassing on separation of powers, this is what you get. When you use an unnamed so-called whistleblower to try and take out a president of the United States, and you impeach him twice really with no basis whatsoever, and when you trigger the investigation of a president with a special counsel in violation of Department of Justice regulations with no predicate whatsoever, when you conduct yourself in an utterly lawless way, attacking the institutions of this country, attacking the founding documents of this country, attacking the history of this country, this is what you get. Lawlessness. It's just a matter of time. All these institutions are going to collapse. This is a grave assault on the Supreme Court. When I was in law school, I was actually an intern to Chief Justice Warren Burger. I saw how it operated. And I can tell you, this institution takes its confidentiality seriously. Why? That's the coin of the realm. They've got to be able to talk about ideas freely. They got to be able to discuss this without political pressure. Why do people think these are lifetime appointments? And of course, the Democrat Party is destroying this country. Look at the confirmation process. It started with Bork. The Democrats targeted him under Kennedy and Biden. And it moves on to others, including Clarence Thomas, including Kavanaugh. Republicans don't treat Democrat nominees this way. They may object to them. When you say the Supreme Court doesn't look like America, you're undermining the credibility of the court. And so this is a war on our system of government. You see immediately Bernie Sanders, who really hates this country as far as I'm concerned. Does he ever say anything good about the country?
Never.
When you see Bernie Sanders issue a tweet or a statement saying, now basically on to the Senate, we have to get rid of the filibuster rule. So they want to take out 2 institutions with 1 stone. When you see that press release that Schumer and Pelosi put out, they're real out there trying to politicize their base, trying to rev up the voters for November. These are disgusting people who are not statesmen, who put their party before their country. We've become the United States of the Democrat Party, not the United States of America. So this person who's leaked, it's very interesting. I was talking to my wife about this last night. This person who leaked will be considered an iconic civil rights type person, whether this person's a lawyer and loses their bar degree or not, their law degree. They will make a fortune writing books. They will make a fortune going on different circuits, talk circuits. Maybe they'll even be focused on by CBS Sunday Morning with the birds in the background and the flowers in the front round. What's happening to this country is the degradation of our belief systems and our institutions from within. And if you're pushing things like critical race theory, you have no respect for this country. As a matter of fact, these kinds of leaks are necessary. If you believe that this country was founded in malice, that this country is evil, then you'll do anything to take it down. And we've now reached a point where the ends do justify the means. So whomever this leaker is, by the way, here it is, here's the document, it's everywhere. And what I notice is, where's the minority opinion?
Yeah, right.
I mean, I don't see it. I guess that wasn't circulated. Other opinions, other notes, they're not circulated, just what apparently Alito is alleged to have written. By the way, it's a damn good draft, as a matter of fact. And on the substance, we have headlines saying the Supreme Court is going to eliminate abortion rights. Ladies and gentlemen, even if this opinion winds up being essentially the final opinion and you want an abortion, you'll get an abortion. It'll be paid for by the federal government. Maybe you'll have to go to one of 30 or 40 or 45 states. I'm sure people will consider that an inconvenience. But the idea that people cannot get an abortion, abortion is not eliminated. Abortion is still going to be funded by the federal government. We have one of the most extreme processes, extreme in terms of so-called liberal processes for getting abortion on the face of the earth, even with this decision. The Roe v. Wade decision was a bogus decision. It was a political op-ed piece for the New York Times. or the Washington Post. It has no basis in the Constitution or law. This is why they fight like hell to get justices on there who will uphold it. If it was that, you don't need justices on the court. They don't fight over Plessy versus Ferguson, Brown versus Board of Education, which reversed Plessy versus Ferguson. They don't ask people about that because everybody knows that's settled law under our Constitution. The corrupt decision was Plessy, not Brown. But Roe v. Wade is a corruption of the Supreme Court. This is why we have unalienable rights, and the majority should never rule in all cases.
Mark, as far as the leaker is concerned, obviously it was unethical for this person to do this, but was it illegal? In law school, would you have learned that this would have been illegal? And if so, does this person go to court after the FBI investigates? Does this person go before Congress?
He says book tour.
I am not aware of a federal criminal statute. The people who do this sort of thing for a living, they'll look. Maybe we'll accuse them of trespassing or parading at the Supreme Court. That might be a good try. But nonetheless, no, it's unethical. If they're a member of the bar, they will be disbarred. But they won't care because that calculation was already made. Again, they're going to be viewed by the left, by the Pelosi's and Schumers, not as destroying an institution, not as making it incredibly difficult for justices to work with each other. And they're going to have to change their processes there when it comes to the law clerks and others. They're going to be heralded on the left. If you watch these other networks and you watch these senators, these Democrat senators coming up, they're attacking Alito. You saw what Pelosi and Schumer said about the justices. They lied and so forth and so on. And again, what Sanders and the other radicals want to do is now destroy the Senate. These people do not care about our institutions. This is a different breed now of Democrat. These are, as I've said, American Marxists. They are attacking the foundations of the country. They're not arguing within the box. They're not fighting within the box. They're destroying the box. And the Democrat Party's taking the lead on this. So they're not all that upset about the leak. In fact, I think they think it's a wonderful thing. I heard Leo Terrell last night. He nailed it. This is all about politics. And what this means is they're going to try and rev up their base for November. They want to put pressure on the justices. Do I think it'll work? No, I don't. It looks like Roberts has lost already because Roberts is no Rehnquist when it comes to principles and so forth. But Roberts has a responsibility now. It's the Chief Justice's job to be the chief administrator of the Supreme Court of the United States. And they need to find out who did this. They need to punish the person. And somebody needs to say something much more substantive and effective about the war against our court by the Democrats. The Republicans aren't committing any attacks on the Supreme Court. And also the war against our history, the war against our institutions. There's one party doing this. And except for a few exceptions like you folks, the media are fully involved in it. I have a question. Politico sat on Hunter Biden's laptop. They had access to it. Why didn't they report on it? And yet, Politico gets this leak, and they can't wait to do a headline on it and push it out. This just shows you how corrupt the media are. They wanted Biden to win, so the media, for the most part, and the big tech oligarchs sat on the laptop story, promoted the Russia collusion story because they wanted to take or delegitimize Trump and take him out. And here they can't wait to get this Supreme Court stuff out. This just shows you how a poisonous media with a radical agenda harms this country. So I'll be the first one to say it. What the hell was Politico thinking? Oh, well, we got it. We have to run with it. No, you're liars. There's a lot you don't run with when it doesn't advance your narrative and advance your agenda. You have participated in a grave assault on the Supreme Court of the United States of America, and every Democrat and anyone else who uses this as a political opportunity, whether to push for the filibuster rule to be eliminated in the Senate or start attacking the justices, these are all corrupt, poisonous people and voices who are attacking the foundations of this country.
Mark, a couple of things. Number one, they're going to roll the story. I'm sure Joe Biden today in Alabama, before he talks about javelins and saluting the machinists that make them, he will say something and tap into his Jim Crow 2.0 attitude that was totally inaccurate in describing the Georgia rule. Number two is, everything you said is correct about the media, but what does it tell you that the American people still are on the cusp of really doing damage to the Democratic Party if all these polls and the sentiment are correct. The media is not controlling things. They're not pulling the strings of the American people. The media is not where the American people are.
The problem is, Brian, the media has to inform the American people about honestly what's taking place in their government. And when the media takes sides, the American people don't know what's taking place in their government. We may win the midterm elections, but are we going to win every election? Are our institutions going to be able to withstand this?
Right.
We have hosts on these other networks who hate this country, who push racism day in and day out. People who have, in the past, pushed homophobia and anti-Semitism, and they're given primetime slots on MSNBC. Is that what we want in this country? We have people who are celebrating the leaker, whomever the leaker is, because they're pushing their agenda. These are people who have situational ethics and ends that they demand, and they're in the media. So we cannot have a free country for long when the institutions that are intended to keep us free are corrupted. And so the media, everybody knows the media is an appendage of the Democrat Party for the most part. Why do you think they attack conservative talk radio? They attack Fox, they attack other conservative outlets. I mean, they control 98% of everything that's said out there, and it's still not good enough for them. They want conformity. Why do you think they attack Elon Musk? They demand conformity.
Sure.
They don't want free speech. They don't want a Supreme Court that sits there and debates issues and makes decisions. They want their ruling the way they want their ruling. And come hell or high water, that's the way it is. That's why I started off by saying it's the United States of the Democrat Party. They're not thinking about America. I heard one senator say, we're going to have a patchwork of abortion rules now. I said, yes, that's the point. That's the point. People in South Carolina are not people in California when it comes to certain viewpoints.
That's federalism.
And the reason the framers were so brilliant and did this is to keep the country united by allowing diverse views with diverse people, with diverse religions, and diverse backgrounds to live where they want, to be mobile, so that one court, and it's not even 9 justices, maybe it's 7, maybe it's 5, doesn't put a stamp on everything that must be said in the culture. You shall honor this. You shall pay for that. Wait a minute. It goes against my religious beliefs. I don't want to bake that cake. I don't want to do that thing. Right. You will do what we tell you to do. It's the same attitude when it comes to voting. Voting, the rules for voting, only the state legislatures are supposed to make the rules, not the state courts, not state governors and all the rest. This is why we've had such a battle over the 2020 election. And the answer for the Democrats is, let's centralize that too. Why? So they can impose their will on South Carolina, impose their will on Pennsylvania, which is a culturally conservative state, impose their New York City, San Francisco rules on the rest of the country. This Roe v. Wade decision, the American people know it's not the right decision. Why are justices on this? You know, the first book I wrote was called this, Men in Black, How the Supreme Court is Destroying America, because the Supreme Court is nationalizing these decisions. That said, the answer to that isn't to destroy the Supreme Court. The answer to that is to get the right justices on. So they've destroyed the confirmation process, the Democrats, and one footnote: filibustering Supreme Court justices, or justices at all. Filibustering judicial nominees started with the Democrats, was promoted by Chuck Schumer, and now it's reached all the way to the Supreme Court. For most of our history, we never filibustered judicial nominees. Now we do. We never did to judicial nominees what we did to Bork, Thomas, and Kavanaugh. Now we do. We never had a leak of a document. A document. I see Politico's trying to cover its ass now. We've never had a leak of a draft like ever in American history, in the history of the Supreme Court like this. Why? Because people are being taught that the country stinks, that our foundations don't matter, that we're a white supremacist nation, and that the only way to go is with the radical left agenda. The whole government is supposed to be focused on embracing the radical left agenda.
Yeah. Mark, going back to what you said, you know, the headline on all the channels is that the Supreme Court's going to overturn Roe v. Wade, it sounds like. But ultimately, it will come to, you know, as you said accurately, every state will be able to decide whether to restrict or ban abortion. And, you know, this all started in Mississippi, where they said you can't have an abortion after 15 weeks.
Couple things about this. It's not the final decision, as Professor Trilly and others have said, but it is an indication. Isn't it amazing? All these medical experts and scientists that we've listened to for 2 years on COVID, they say, follow the science. Okay, I'm following the science. I'm following the sonograms, the heartbeats. Well, what is that exactly in a woman's womb after 15 weeks? What is it? What is it? It's not a bologna sandwich. What is it?
It's a person.
It's a baby. And more with our scientific technology, babies can survive. And yet, the Democrats and the left still push abortion up to the last second. The governor of Colorado, the governor of California. And everybody says, well, that's a choice. Are you kidding me? It's a human being. Now, we can have that debate, which is separate from the debate over the destruction of our institutions. And maybe it's not so separate. It just shows you the poisoning of our culture. Roe v. Wade doesn't even do what these governors want to do. Federal funding for abortions. We had an agreement under the Hyde Amendment for 15 years that the federal dollars wouldn't be used because we had to have respect for people who have a moral problem with it. That's been eliminated. We have doctors and nurses for religious reasons and moral reasons who don't want to conduct abortions. Those Democrats that you hear now in the Senate and the House, they're trying to force them to do what they want them to do. This is what happens. So people are at loggerheads here, absolute loggerheads. That's why the framers were so incredibly intelligent when it comes to the 10th Amendment. And some of these decisions, most, have to be left to the states, where people have a viewpoint in one state where they may not have a viewpoint in another state. But the left is not happy with that. So when I hear a senator say, well, we're going to have a patchwork when it comes to abortion, that's the point. It doesn't mean a woman isn't going to get it. Are you kidding me? We have groups bringing illegal aliens into this country, moving them from city to city, state to state. If somebody says, I want an abortion in the 18th week, and I'm in Mississippi, they'll say, okay, let's get on the bus. We'll go over to New Jersey or wherever it is. This is not an issue about whether or not somebody can get an abortion, I'm sad to say. This is an issue about the constitutional construct in this country. Who makes the decisions? Are we going to centralize all these decisions with a handful of judges and Schumer and Pelosi and the radicals in this country? Or are we going to allow the American people to make these decisions? This is a counter-revolution to the American Revolution. That's what's taking place here. In so many ways, we live in a post-constitutional society now. I don't know. Are we a representative republic? Are we a federal republic? What exactly are we? And so now they basically light a fuse at the Supreme Court of the United States. Why not? Why not? They're blowing up everything else, and the court has a grave problem on its hands right now. Somebody did horrific damage to the Supreme Court, and I want the American people to understand. You might say, well, who cares? Somebody leaks something. Everybody always leaks something. You cannot have 9 justices sitting in a conference room openly discussing opinions, going back and forth, having their law clerks help prepare the briefs, going back and forth. It takes a period of months typically. With a complicated decision, it could be 6 months if they think somebody's going to leak it. And just remember the motives behind the person who leaked it. They succeeded. They succeeded. The Democrat Party is running with this like a dog with a bone. And they're going to raise money on this, and they hope it changes what happens in 2022. And I predict, I hope I'm wrong, that Biden is also going to be a dog with a bone in his mouth. That's what they're going to do.
Starting today.
They're going to try and change the subject. But I want to be clear, sadly. If you're somebody who wants an abortion, you'll be able to get an abortion. But the Supreme Court has been severely damaged, as have the rest of our institutions, by the radical left in this country.
Want to see more Mark Levin? Go to LevinTV.com and subscribe now.